So imagine for a moment that you're a smart, ambitious young man. A man who can have anything he wants. Not because you work hard, although you certainly do work hard. Not because of your skills, although you have skills too. No, the reason why you can have anything you want is because of your family. You're a mafioso, a gangster, a made man. And you can have anything your heart desires and no one can touch you. It sounds like the trailer for Godfather Part 4, right? Or Scarface. But actually it isn't. It's the first of our traffic strategies called the Mafia method. How to rule the web Gansta style. Okay? And here's what I mean. Just to make it clear. The fact is the web is ruled by a small number of extremely influential people. People who are the equivalent of an Oprah to their space. They're an authority, they're an influencer. And within a particular space, they command everyone's attention and trust. If you can gain the trust of those people, you become a member of their quote-unquote mafia. If they endorse you, if they accept you into their family, you can grow your blog incredibly quickly. And also, you become almost untouchable. It's very hard to beat someone who's following the strategy successfully. And I know that because I'm one of them. Okay, this is the primary traffic strategy I've used. I've used all of the traffic strategies we'll teach one way or another, but this is the one that got me the furthest, okay? And I'm not saying it's without flaws, because it doesn't. We're going to talk about those. But this is the one that got me where I am. Because, I mean, in my space in blogging, I mean, you could argue that there are 3 big influencers, or at least there were at the time. Each of these guys has kind of repositioned himself since then, except for Darren Rouse. He's pretty consistent. But there were Brian Clark, Darren Rouse, and Neil Patel were the 3 big influencers in the blogging space. And I wrote for each of these guys as a way of getting close to them, as a way of becoming a member of their family, as a way of getting endorsements, as a way of getting them to introduce me to people, all different kinds of things, right? And they are the primary reason why I was able to pull off the biggest blog launch in history when I launched Boost Blog Traffic, which is now Smart Blogger. It was because of these guys, because of the trust that they put in me. I was kind of like, you know, a member of their family. And they gave me a gigantic push forward, okay? I was a part of the blogging mafia. I finally confessed. That's the reason why I am where I am today. Okay? But listen, there are some startling benefits of being a mafioso here. Okay? Let's go through them. And just let me kind of explain what they are. Because a lot of the other traffic strategies can't give you these benefits. The first is introductions to anyone. By writing for those guys, by becoming their most popular writer, in the case of Brian and Neil, I even became an editor for them, driving millions of visitors, okay? Because I was a member of their families, for that reason, because I proved myself to them that way. In return, one of the things they would give me is introductions to anyone I asked for. So if there was someone that they knew that I wanted to get to know, all I had to do was ask for an intro. And, you know, 15 minutes later, email goes out introducing me to that person. And I'm basically being introduced by one of the most influential people in the space, which is the best possible introduction you can get. It would open pretty much any door I desired. And that was incredibly, incredibly powerful. Because not only did it mean that, you know, I was a member of their family and they would do favors for me, but all of their friends would do favors for me too, because they'd put that mark of being a made man. Okay? And that's really, really important. Really, really beneficial. It resulted in me having this enormous network. Okay? That I still have today. The second thing is instant respect. So when I went anywhere and I said, I work for Brian Clark, I work for Neil Patel, it instantly, it's like saying, I don't know, I work for the president, or I work for Bill Gates or whatever. Even though they didn't know me, they recognized who I worked for. So whatever I wanted to do, everywhere I went, I instantly got respect from everyone. All right? And that also is extremely valuable. The third is traffic on demand. So with each of these guys, I could ask them if I had an article that was relevant to their audience. Okay? And I would never do this with anything that was irrelevant. But if I had an article that I felt like was a good fit for them, I could ask them to share it. And they have huge social followings. So I could get thousands of visitors basically anytime I wanted by writing an article that I knew their audience would be interested in. And I could pull that trigger whenever I wanted. When I first started my blog, every week I would ask one of those guys for a share. I'd pick one and I'd ask them to share an article, and I would write the article with their audience in mind. That means every week I got thousands of visitors guaranteed to every single post I published. Okay, and that's not even counting all of the people that they introduced me to that I could do the same thing with. Okay, so having that relationship, it's one of the ways you can get instant traffic. I mean, my friends, I added it up at one point. Just my closest friends have over 2 million Twitter followers combined. Just my closest friends. And they'll share anything I ask that is relevant to their audience. Within 15, 30 minutes, boom. It's out there to 2 million people. That's one of the benefits of this method. The fourth thing that you can get is instant money. When I was working with Copyblogger, especially, Brian was extremely generous with me, and most of these people are very generous, by the way. The whole idea that everyone is miserly at the top and tries to hoard everything, that's one of the biggest myths out there. The people at the top, in general, are at the top because they're generous to people that they genuinely value. Okay? So, in Brian's case, I was able to, he didn't want to do any consulting. So every day people were emailing him asking to do consulting. Will you consult with me? Big companies, advertising agencies, everyone. And he didn't want to do it. So I said, do you mind if I do it? Brian said, sure. And he started forwarding all of the consulting leads to me. Instantly, I was making over $100,000 a year when that happened. Instantly. I'd never done consulting before. I'd never had a client. Within like 1 week, I had a full client roster. Within 1 week. Okay? And again, that was because of being a member of a powerful family. All right? Another one is a safety net. So when I finally did start to branch out on my own, which all of them supported, by the way, I knew that if I failed, I could always go back to them. And they would take care of me. And I imagine, I don't think that's ever going to happen these days. But when I first went out on my own, it made it not nearly so scary. Because I knew I could always come back and work for them. They would accept me with open arms. And I would always have a job. Okay? And not only that, they could refer me to people. All right? So it gave this immense feeling of security that allowed me to go forward and do really brave things. And then the last one, and maybe the most powerful one, is mentorship. Just getting to be able to hang around guys like that, I learned an incredible amount. And I mean, lessons that you may not be able to learn anywhere else. They're not in a book. They're not written in a blog post. And a lot of times they didn't even intentionally teach me. It was just something from being around them I noticed. And some of those lessons were just priceless. Okay? So by becoming a mafioso in your space, you can get some incredibly powerful mentors too. All right? So, certainly this is only true for a niche like blogging. Though, right? You know, can't be true for something like parenting or personal finance. Actually, that's not the case. In every single one of those spaces, and a lot of them, I can even name the people. Okay? In a lot of the biggest spaces online, there are people like Brian Clark and Neil Patel and Darren Rouse who are the influencers in that space. And they are generous and they are nice. And if you become a member of their family, it can propel you to the top of that space, you know, as soon as they decide to do it. Okay? So here are some actual examples of niches where this method works. Self-improvement is one of them. Parenting. I've actually heard the term mommy mafia. Believe it or not, the mommy mafia. There are a small handful of mommy bloggers who are like the mommy mafia. If they approve of you and appoint you into their inner circle, it's over. You get all the traffic you want. Okay? Marketing. News, careers like graphic design, programming, photography. So any career that's really well defined, really mature, there are a lot of people in that career, usually several million people, with a lot of publications on that topic. Anything like that, you can do this with. Personal finance. Social media. That's the one I'd probably fit into. Entrepreneurship. I mean, the startup community. There are people who are immensely influential in the startup community that if you can become friends with them, they can do a ton for you. Technology, like WordPress, drones, AI, any hot tech, it can become one of these. Usually it doesn't happen right away. It might take a year, which we'll talk about in a little while, but any hot new tech that everyone is interested in and wants to read about, oftentimes you'll see influencers and authorities develop in that space, and you can become one of those by befriending them. Dating, hobbies like scrapbooking, golfing, martial arts, okay? Any of those really, really big hobbies, they're usually authorities, influencers, okay? And you can befriend them. So, there are also niches where this method doesn't work well, though, and I just want to go ahead and acknowledge these. Rather than name them specifically, I'll name some of them, but really I want to give you just some rules where this doesn't work well. Because, by the way, none of the techniques I'll teach you, none of the strategies work for in every situation. And there are situations where this method, the Mafia method, does not work. Does not work. Here they are. Number one is if influencers are still predominantly offline, such as with painting. Painting is an enormous market. I mean, it's like a multi-billion-dollar market for painting, for buying paintings, right? But it's still mostly offline. That's slowly changing. It's slowly changing, but it's still mostly offline, especially where the influencers and authorities are concerned. So that makes it difficult to work in this space. Same thing with things like elder care, horse racing, and retirement. I always get sad when I have a student that tells me that they're starting a blog on retirement and they're hoping to use this strategy. Can you start a blog on retirement? Yes. Can it be successful? Yes. Will it work using this strategy? No. it will never work because most of the influencers in that space are still predominantly offline. Okay, the next one is extremely specialized topics, like orchids, kidney stones, lizards, horseshoe tossing, intermittent fasting. All of these things could make great blog topics. None of them will work with this strategy. They're too specialized. In general, any very specific disease that doesn't affect tons of people. So for example, you may be able to do one on back pain or heart attacks or something like that, because those affect millions and millions of people. But anything that affects less people, kidney stones is probably even borderline, because it affects a lot of people. But anything that's like a specialized disease often doesn't work with this method because there aren't enough big influencers specializing in this method. Certain types of pets that are uncommon. You could probably do it around dogs, but you probably couldn't around lizards. They're just too specialized. And the way that you know it's too specialized, by the way, if you're wondering, well, how do I know if it's too specialized? The way that you know is look around and see if you can find influencers that, these are people who everyone looks to and respects. That they have enormous social followings, that they have a site with enormous traffic. If you can't find any of those people, chances are it's too specialized. Okay? So, trends or interests that have been around for less than a year. Anything that's brand new won't have any influencers yet. So there's no family to become a member of. It's new territory, to use gangster speak, I guess. And so going into that territory, can you develop a blog around a brand new topic or trend? Yes, you absolutely can. You just can't use this method. The same goes for all of these, okay? You can absolutely build popular blogs around a lot of these things. You just can't use the methods this particular Mafia method, okay? So, the other thing to realize is this method requires networking skills. If you're the type of person who doesn't like networking, if you don't like, you're not social, you don't like hanging around powerful people and building your network, you're not going to like this strategy. Okay, it's just not going to be for you. And I think it's important to realize that that's not for everyone. Me, I don't have any problem with it. Even when I was a kid, all the other kids used to accuse me of being the teacher's pet, the class suck up, all of those things. And it was true, okay? I'm admitting it publicly for the first time. If you don't mind doing that, then this works great. On the other hand, if it just turns your stomach to sort of work your way up the ladder by making powerful people like you, it's a very political process. It's also like a popularity contest, okay? If you don't like engaging in that type of thing, you're not going to like this. And you just need to be aware of that up front. So, let's go over some of the advantages and disadvantages just to close up here. Just because, again, not all of the strategies I'm going to teach you are going to be for you. You're going to look at least some of these and say, I don't want to do that. Or this doesn't work in my space. Okay, so let's go over some of those advantages and disadvantages. First advantage of this strategy is you get independence from any single traffic source. This is by far the biggest advantage. If my website was deleted today, and all of my contacts, everything just poof, disappeared. Terrorists, attack and took out Smart Blogger. I could rebuild it within a few months. And the reason why is you can't take away my connections. Because of my connections, if that happened, everyone would gather around and immediately support me to help me rebuild. And I would have it all built back within a few months. So it doesn't matter if Google disappears, if Facebook disappears. I don't care. As long as my network is there, doesn't matter what technology does. That's an extraordinary advantage. Another advantage is the traffic is highly engaged. So, like, for when you get a visitor from a search engine, for example, a lot of times they don't know who you are. They just saw your listing in Google. They don't trust you. But if you get a link from an influencer, from one of the biggest authorities in your space, endorsing you, telling everyone to go check you out, that traffic is going to really be paying very close attention to you. They're also going to be much more predisposed to trust you. The next one is it lasts forever. So this kind of relates to the first one. But the other thing is, a lot of the other traffic strategies that I'll teach you, they give you like a spike of traffic. Or they'll work as long as that platform is around. But no platform lasts forever. Except your connections. Okay? Those do last forever. Now, maybe not all of them. By the way, you may lose 1 or 2 connections. But if you've got 20, 30 connections, or even if you have 2 or 3 connections, even, like when I started, that puts you in an enormous position of power, to where the network you have continues to help you for the rest of your life. Okay? Traffic on demand. So like I mentioned earlier, I could ask all of my friends to share things for me, and I'd have traffic immediately as soon as I wanted it. That's very valuable. Easy transition into joint ventures. So this is another one. If you have a product or service, and you think, man, it would just be great if I could get some of these people to endorse it or to partner with me, this strategy is fantastic for that. It's an immediate next step, okay? And it becomes very, very easy. None of the other strategies I'll teach you can do this for you nearly as well as this can. Instant credibility, okay? Like I said earlier, because I said I worked with those guys, because I could sort of name drop whenever I wanted to, then it gave me instant credibility everywhere I went. And another one here is lifetime friendships. Okay, I formed friendships that'll probably last a lifetime with each of these guys. So it's not just about the traffic. It's not just about what you gain. It's also about the incredible people you get to know. And that's a benefit all on itself. All right, disadvantages though. The first one is that this takes a long time to see any results of note. Usually the fastest it happens is 6 to 12 months applying this strategy. It takes a long time. I've tried to teach a lot of students this strategy. 90% of them do not have the patience for it, okay? That's by far the biggest downside. I mean, and it relates to the second one. The greatest benefits come after 3+ years of applying this strategy. I started to see benefits within 6 to 12 months. For me, I mean, it was even faster. It's probably within 3 months. But that's unusual. Most people, it takes at least 6 to 12. But I didn't get the really huge benefits until after about 3 years of using this strategy. That's when I became, just sort of invincible. And I think you need to be prepared to invest that kind of time into it for it to really work. If you're not, you don't need to do this. Okay? It's a big commitment. If you put 3 or 4 months into it and quit, you will see absolutely no results whatsoever. It will not work. So this is something that you have to invest a lot of time in over a long period of time. The next one is you will be ignored. Usually you don't get rejected, by the way. Usually they're not going to reject you and tell you to go screw off. What they will do is ignore you, the influencers in your space. And it will happen a lot, especially in the beginning. You will be fighting constantly not to be ignored. And sometimes, no matter what you do, they're going to ignore you. If that infuriates you, don't do this strategy. You have to be ready to be ignored on a regular basis. It will become a part of your life. And you have to be ready for that. You will also be betrayed. I won't mention which one it is. One of the people that on that list betrayed me before it was over. Since then, we've sort of made up. For the most part, we're good. I don't think I'll ever totally forget it. And everyone else I know who uses this strategy eventually gets betrayed by someone. Now, usually, it's not going to destroy your career. On the other hand, it will break your heart. It will break your heart. When you develop a close relationship with someone, and you find out that they did not have your best interests at heart. Not all of these people are great people, and sometimes you can't tell right away. Sometimes they're really good, or sometimes their circumstances just change. And it's between you or them, and they choose themselves, okay? You have to be ready for that. You have to be ready for that. Okay? And lastly, this might be distasteful for you, the things that you'll have to do. I mean, the strategies I'll teach you, that we'll teach you in this module, none of them are unethical. None of them are unethical, none of them are illegal, but a lot of them will make you uncomfortable. A lot of them will make you uncomfortable. And if you're the type of person who doesn't like politics, who doesn't like sucking up, frankly, you're going to struggle with this. You're going to struggle. Okay? So, I mean, I don't think any of us enjoys it, but if you can't bring yourself to do it, then this isn't going to work for you. Just up front. Okay? So, here's the bottom line. If it sounds like a good trade-off, looking at those advantages and disadvantages, watch the upcoming videos in this module. If it doesn't, and we're going to say this for all of the different strategies, pick another one. There's more than one strategy here to choose from. So pick whichever one works the best for you, in your situation, for your personality type. If you do that, you'll be good. This may or may not be it. My goal for this course is to help you figure that out, which one is best for you, and then know how to proceed forward. Okay? So, hopefully this helped guide you. If you're interested in diving in further, you can, and if not, that's fine too. Until then, John Morrow here. Take care. I'll talk to you soon. Bye-bye now.